How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Ruffled Rowlet, and welcome back to a brand new video, guys. Today, we are going to be, first of all, changing this thingy over here to strobe, because that's very nice. And next up, we're going to talk about a bunch of Pokemon news and rumors / leaks and stuff like that. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a beverage, and let's get started. First things first is this right here, which is a post over on, I think, Reddit, from a guy who more or less just said, my work started advertising BDSP today. Copies of the game are being locked away in the back room. I was going to try to get it early, but I got told I could lose my job, so I probably won't do that. And this guy who posted this, by the way, is named Benchlover, who also has another post, I think, here from the same guy. Updates says, I couldn't take the physical copy of BDSP. I took the pre-order cardboard display box instead. So yeah, he just yoinked two of these, I guess, more or less. So that's pretty much that. People are saying, like, you know, the leaks more or less will be happening soon, and that's also what I've been kind of, you know, saying more or less as well. Even Eclipse says this is endgame, and what I'm saying is that this means this is data mining time. If these things are coming to stores right now, there's gonna be that one store somewhere, whether it be in Italy, whether it be in, I don't know, somewhere in Japan, or somewhere in, I don't know, Germany or Greece or America. Somebody is gonna get their hands on this game and data mine the living crap out of it. But I did make an interesting point on Twitter, which is that they do have a day one patch, which that day one patch that's supposed to be on the game, which you have to like run if you want to actually, like, you have to run that day one patch if you want to actually have access to the full game, I think, and actually make it playable. The thing with that day one patch is that you sort of need it to actually make the game playable, and that patch may actually contain a lot of that hidden information that we don't know about. So just keep that in mind, ladies and gents. Just keep that in mind. But nonetheless, that's one of the first things we had for today, which we've already sort of, I guess, gone through more or less. And yeah, that's more or less that. So let's move on to the next thing, which is from Steelix here, who says this. Yep, it's happening. This yokai, which is known as Shushabora, plus this tweet from Eclipse, I think I figured out its inspiration. And this is more or less what we're talking about. Eclipse posted this saying, you should have stayed in the shell like your, and then, I don't know, whatever this is. And then he more or less just says that it could be this thing right here. And this is one of the riddles, which is about Shushabora, which is a yokai. Translation, promoted giant triton. Habitat, migrates from mountains to valleys and finally to seas. And then it has an appearance. Like many animals, giant tritons, Charonia tritonis, are kind of sea snails, similar to a conch, can turn into a yokai after living for a very long time. When a giant triton reaches an age of several thousand years old, it turns into a draconic creature called a Shushabora. So more or less, it makes sense because you got more or less a dragon / triton, whatever you want to call it. It looks like a dragon. It is in a seashell, and it also is clearly a yokai of sorts, which connects well over to, of course, Gudra, which in this case would fit with it. So you got that. And also, down here, you have, like, you know, the post from Nihilego who said number 8 is Gudra line, dragon steel type. I think this community doesn't deserve real leaks, if you guys remember that whole post. And then, of course, there's also this right here from him, which is about the shed shell, I guess, which is they should have stayed in their shell as posted by Eclipse. And then shed shell, which is 5%. Right there. So what do you guys think about this? What do you guys think about this whole rumor riddle? What do you think about it? Do you think Gudra's getting a new form or not? Let me know. I covered this in yesterday's video, but I want to know your thoughts about this more or less breakdown right now. So that's that, and let's move on to the next thing, which in this case is this kind of like a rumor that popped up on 4chan from this guy, and let's just take a look at it. We're going to zoom in here and read it. So sit back, relax, and I'll read this for you guys, starting from the top. So I know leaks don't normally come around like this, but my insider person was at a very large internal ID generation event with Game Freak, the Pokemon Company, Incorporated Nintendo, and like Ilka, and many other companies. Employees talking about Pokemon games in the future. Next to none of this is confirmed, but I still thought sharing these IDs would be interesting. I'm not normally keeping up with the news about Pokemon, but was a fan around 10 years ago, if I remember correctly, and only got reminded of it when Dexit was made known. Before I say what I know, Pickrell is just another potential lead sent by my source that I literally can't even read, so feel free to dissect that in the meantime if possible. So we'll see what turns out with that. But then what he says, what I know for sure isn't an ID, but rather the plan is this. The next new region won't be coming next year internally. So PLA is considered a larger project than normal, introducing many mods and new mechanics. There will be an update to BDSP to bring regional forms for any regional forms and evolutions of mods before Arceus. There will also be a larger DLC for PLA, although I don't know what it is, what is in it yet. So if this is true, then that would imply that next year wouldn't be next, like another gen. But the only thing is though, I'm really wondering if PLA is that large in scale. If it is that large in scale and everything, then yes, next year we could end up getting, you know, a DLC for it and no new generation. I'm still on the side of a new generation, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. You know, it is what it is. I'm just speculating here at the end of the day, you know what I mean? But I just feel like, you know, new gen just makes sense in my opinion. New gen makes sense next year with everything around it, but I could be inherently very wrong, okay? I could be super, super, super wrong. But a lot of my heart is telling me that next year needs to be next gen, because Generation 8 has kind of run its course now. Generation 8 is more or less run its course and it's done, and I just feel like we need to move on to the next thing, more or less. But we'll see how that actually goes and if that happens. But it continues on. PLA is considered a larger project than normal, introducing many new mods and mechanics. There will be an update to BDSP to bring the regional forms for any regional forms and evolutions of mods before Arceus. There will also be a larger DLC for PLA, although I don't know what it is in it. It could be actually a DLC. Now, like, I used to be against the idea of there being a DLC for Legends Arceus, but the more I'm seeing the game, the more I'm thinking they could do a DLC for it easily and sell it, and people would buy it, you know what I mean? They could easily do that. But we'll have to see if that happens. Gen 9 will happen in 2023, okay? Although I don't know what is in it, I just know it's mentioned that it exists. But anyway, so Gen 9 will happen in 2023 with DLC in 2024. The idea they're throwing around is whether or not to merge these DLCs or have it like in Generation 8's, which is the Isle of Armor and the Crown Tundra, which we'll have to wait and see if that's the case. ID time, tentatively, most people there want a Johto remake, so ID time, tentatively, most people there want a Johto remake after Gen 9's region is done, and for them to feature Raikou and Entei. You might be thinking, let's go, but I don't have any info on what type of game it is. Just that it's being planned for. Gen 10 is planned for 2026, and DLC was barely discussed. Really, 2026? That seems a bit weird to already know that info. What was discussed was Unova coming after, and these have the most conflict and craziest ideas yet. I'll remind you that these aren't confirmed, but they're debating between having Black and White 2 come in one game, but have 2 games in it. And then, or splitting up the releases. And then he goes to part 2, which is one final conclusion from this discussion. No one except Ilka is internally happy that Ilka got handed BDSP, especially because Game Freak started working on its battle scene in 2019, but it was handed to Ilka extremely early, ignoring objections. Ilka will only be handed model and texture work similar to creatures in the future. I'm guessing this will help with the Dexit situation, and yes, Dexit wasn't planned, although some internal parties want it to not be fixed. All in all, future games will be from Game Freak, while certain parts of the games will be handled by Ilka, and the way elements of the games are already handed off to other studios for Pokemon games, like they do with with creatures and whatnot, and other studios that they have work on aspects of Pokemon. But that's more or less that, and then this included like image in Japanese, I'm guessing here, of some sort of text conversation, which if you guys can translate that, then good luck, and see what you can do here. I think Pokestami might be able to translate this if there is some legitimacy to this, but yeah, just take a look at that if you want to. And yeah, let's continue on to the next thing, which is this right here. So actually, you know what? I kind of want to talk about this a little bit before we go. Okay, so first of all, I want to just say this. Okay, I know I want to talk about like what clips posted, but I also kind of want to go into this really quickly. And I know you guys may not like me when I go on tangents, but I want to go on it. So first things first. This just seems a bit odd, okay? Generation 9 next year seems to make sense to me, mostly because what else will they do? If they do DLC, that's the only possible thing that could stop my idea from being a possibility, right? The idea of there being a Generation 9 next year, it's only stopped if there is a DLC for Legends Arceus next year. But when would they announce that then? If they are doing DLC, wouldn't that need to be announced like, I guess at Pokemon Day, right? Which is on the 28th of February. And then, of course, before that, you have the release at the end of January of Legends Arceus. There'll be a month of time for people to play the game before they would need to announce another DLC, unless they announce the DLC later in the year around like May and June, which is usually when they do announce like DLC type stuff. So we'll have to wait and see what the deal is with that, right? If they decide to go down that path, so to say, if that's what they want to do, if you get what I mean. But again, there's no guarantees in that. There's no guarantees that that's what they're going to do and that's what's going to happen. none of that is essentially confirmed in this case. But I want to know what you guys think about that, because I still think Gen 9 needs to happen next year. With everything else that surrounds Pokemon, like the anime, the TCG, the merchandise, those are the things, as well as Pokemon Go needing more Pokemon to keep the game relevant and going. As you guys may have noticed, they released Pikmin recently, Pikmin Bloom or whatever it's called, and also they just shut down the Wizards, the Pokemon Go like clone type game, the Wizards like Harry Potter Pokemon Go type game. They shut that one down because it just wasn't making enough money, wasn't, you know, doing well enough. And Pokemon Go just this year made like $1.1 billion, which means it's still a profitable thing. But that's the thing, it still needs to like keep getting new stuff. I jumped into the game this year. I actually jumped into Pokemon Go for the first time since its release in 2016 or 2017, or since like 2016 since I played it, right? I jumped in for the first time since like, well, since Meltan came out. That was the last time I played the game. So I jumped in for the first time in ages, and I enjoyed it with my girlfriend, but guess what? I got bored of it very quickly. I mean, I enjoy it once in a blue moon now with her when we're outside walking a bit just for the hell of it, but I'm not spending money on that game, and trust me, a lot of people will lose interest in it. I mean, you've even seen people like, for example, Reversal, who's a massive YouTuber for Pokemon Go, decided to quit the game, decided to move on from it because he was just tired of it. It just didn't give him the joy he used to get from it before, and he just decided to move on from the game to better, greener pastures and play things that make him happy, right? And more or less, that's what a lot of people are going to run into with this game. It's going to just get drier and drier as there is less and less stuff to do. As there's less and less Pokemon to catch that are brand new, less and less things to do, etc. It will just make the game more rough. Of course, there's still a lot of Pokemon that can still release. There's a lot of content they can still push out. But that's the problem. That stuff is going to run dry eventually. It's not going to go on forever. It's not an endless pit of content, so to say. So just keep that in mind. But the DLC ID is possible. Then to generate, talking about Generation 10, internally they might do that, okay? Just the honest to God thing. The teams over at Nintendo, Game Freak, and the Pokemon Company, of course they're going to talk about the future all the time. I mean, they might already be talking about all the way down to 2030 what their plans are and thoughts and ideas they have. That can definitely happen. I mean, I don't know what's going on behind those walls. I already know in my head what I'm thinking for myself going into the future for the next 5 years. You know, thinking about, oh, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can move here. Maybe I can do this thing. You know, there's a bunch of stuff that I always go through and think through all the time. So it's not impossible for a company to be doing the same thing. It's honestly expected, right? But Generation 10 and then Black and White being into a singular game, like Black and White and Black and White 2 into a singular game, or like putting them into one game and then having two games, you know, kind of split up. You forget what I mean, like putting both part 1 and part 2 in there, but then having two separate games. I don't know whatever way they want to do it, but they do it, then fair enough. I'm excited to see. Black and White remakes will be the strangest remakes because I don't know what they're gonna go for, what kind of style they're gonna go for, and everything. Whether they're gonna go for the Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl kind of, you know, exact one-to-one remake thing, or are they gonna go for something else? Like Black and White's gonna be when remakes get weird, okay? Black and White remakes will be when things get really strange. So we'll have to wait and see how they do those things. But more or less, that's it for that. And really surprised, though, that he mentions that Ilka will not be involved anymore with making the games, which wouldn't surprise me if Game Freak is pissed off about them making that remake. It wouldn't surprise me, which is why I think Masuda was involved with it and sent over there to work on it as well and be a supervisor of sorts. But I don't know, man, it's all weird. So, move on to the next thing, which is Eclipse. What if you can actually throw Pokédolls in the wild and Pokemon start ignoring us for a few seconds, letting us escape? This actually seems like a really cool idea. You know, I think like this could actually work as a concept, in my personal opinion. I think it'd be really sick if it is true. Next thing, though, is Ball Guy Leaks, who's posted something interesting saying, #Pokemon Leak Legends. It is possible to change area through fast time skip without riding any Pokemon. The day will advance by doing this. It's a normal feature, no need to finish game to unlock it more soon. So this is more about a feature in the game, and this is personally something that I really do love. And also shout out, by the way, to Nayal here for saying, I pinged not to say that there's a new leak, but to ask how you are. I am doing good, my friend. I'm dealing with some personal you know, life stuff right now, which is really difficult, which I'm gonna mostly hide from you guys. Just things in life are not really that easy right now, but I'm pushing through it the best I can. And hey, at least, you know, got Legends Arceus. Oh, sorry, BDSP coming out this month, so you got that. And I'm going to be over at Facts, by the way. If you guys are in Belgium, if you are Belgian people, if you're going to be coming to Facts in Ghent, I'll be there, so I'll meet you there. But either way, let's move on to the next thing, which is, of course, this right here. I think this is a feature will be sick. I would like it because I am working on a big thing for my second channel, Ruffle Rally Plays. Go check it out if you like stuff like that. But I'm planning actually a series that actually will need this feature. This is a feature that I kind of need, so I'm on board for this being a thing if it's in the game, actually. Then we, of course, I've already talked about the stuff here. I didn't think we really missed anything. We've already seen these posts. But then here is the next thing. And I'm going to talk about this guy further, a bit further in another video later today. But here's basically what, like, this guy said. Explorer of Sky, who's like a new Riddler type guy, who's just said that PLA has no abilities in the game. There are over hundreds of items in the game to farm for. Some of them give unique perks to Pokemon. For example, Goodra has 2 unique items. It is called Goodra ATM, but for simplicity sakes calling it that. It isn't called Goodra ATM, sorry, but for simplicity's sake, I'm calling it that. And then he also said like something about Goodra being Rock plus Steel type, and that you're gonna understand it soon enough with like what the gameplay is like, which is really weird. And then saying 2 items increase stats, but 1 item gives it water immunity, and the other changes the Pokemon's type form mid-game when you use a stance move twice. I presume these so-called leakers don't talk much about the main gameplay. So this is all strange to me because this guy is actually going in some real stuff. And of course here we did talk about the Goodra thing, but he just kind of went all in and like just went and said this is Riddle is fake, about like, you know, like not all Pokemon being in the collage, saying that like most of the stuff is BS, and then saying that it's Dragon plus Steel, which it's just odd. And I left something in case I go on a 2-week hiatus, enjoy the next few weeks until BDSP. So yeah, he just dropped some info and then nuked out. And this is a small brand new account. And then somebody asks here, like, does the Dialga and Palkia have new forms in BDSP or PLA? I've only seen Arceus' new form. I'm not sure if the Dialga and Palkia will have new forms. If I do see it, I'll definitely post about it. And then mostly that's about it. So yeah, it's a weird little new account, which I'm going to follow because I'm going to just try to keep my eyes on it and see what happens. But ladies and gents, I think for more or less we've gone through everything we had to go through in this video. If you guys did enjoy it, of course, then make sure to subscribe. Stay tuned. We got a second video most likely coming out later today, if everything with it is fine and approved. So that is more or less it, ladies and gents. Thanks so much for watching. My name has been Ruffle Rowlett. Guys, thanks so much. I love you all for the support recently. And for those guys who live in Belgium, I will be at Facts this weekend. At Saturday, I'll be at Facts. It's a convention in Belgium. So I'll see you guys there. Either way, thank you so much. I'll see you all the next time. Peace out. Bye-bye, ladies and gentlemen.